All right, everybody, how's it going? Messages to the past, number 2. We're writing ourselves one sentence that we can write to past Noba that will be like ingrained into Noba's brain, okay? So this sentence is ultra powerful and past Noba will follow this. And today, the theme is structure. Oh, and check this out. Y'all aren't ready for this. Oh, we got a whiteboard. This is our theme today, structure, okay? Our sentence is going to, in some way or form, revolve around structure. We're winging it today. There's no script for this, so we're just gonna yappa through it. I think we're gonna go with, 2 points today. Is what I can just think of off the top of my head is what we're gonna work with. So let's just start like jotting down our notes, because past Noba, I want to talk about sort of how this was a weakness for me that has become a strength. Especially like 20 to 22-year-old Noba, right? Structure was forced in life for me. And so because structure was forced, there was no flow, okay? So I think there's a little bit of force and flow here, okay? I think that force and flow comes into life structure. And to define what I mean by life structure, I sort of mean like your day-to-day habits, right? What do you do when you wake up? What do you do, at work? What do you do at school, right? Wherever it is, it's like, what is that looking like? And when I was in college, it was like I would wake up at like 7:30 and then I would go to class. And then I would get lunch. Then I'd go to sleep, okay? I'd go to sleep at like 1 p.m. And then I'd wake up at 5:30 and go down to the cafeteria to get dinner with everyone. And then I would stay up till like 5 a.m. or something, like crazy, right? And this is when I do my homework. This is when I talk with my friends. Like that was when my life sort of happened. At nighttime. I was like a night owl, right? And that like a noon to 1 to like 5 to 6 p.m. those were my sleeping hours. And it was very scuffed. That was not my body's natural desire. And at the time, I thought that that's what I had to do to make it through my classes, right? It sort of was like the only way that I saw that I could keep up with my work was to have like a reduced sleep schedule like that. And to be frank, it did not work at all, right? It was not fulfilling. That is an example of forcing structure, okay? That's, okay, now we're underlined. That's forcing structure, if I can spell. And I think forcing structure is very painful, and you'll learn it the hard way. And it's unfortunate because a lot of people, especially like if you're working nights, right, you have to force structure. And if, a lot of people who do work nights talk about how that's a big challenge, right? Like it's a big challenge. So I want the first part of my sentence, maybe even my entire sentence. No, definitely the first part. There's one more aspect here. I want it to revolve around sort of structure flowing, right? This concept of like, rather than it's like, it needs to be this way so I can do this, sort of like, well, what does my body need, right? First and foremost, and then having things revolve around it that way, right? So if I could ingrain this into past Noba, this concept, I guess one word that comes to mind is the release of force. You see, we need a thesaurus for this series, right? A thesaurus would be wonderful. To release force, I think it's kind of like, I don't want to use the word vulnerability to openness. However, I think that peace is almost the word that comes to mind, right? Sort of being at peace with sort of being at peace in your heart. And, you know, what it comes down to, I think, is asking myself like a question. And the question is this: okay, so this is in regards to like a choice of a schedule, right? If I'm going to make a choice, like, okay, I'm going to go to bed at 7 a.m. That's when I'm going to go to bed, or I'm going to go to bed at 5 a.m., right? Asking myself this question is like, in what ways does this choice around structure create peace in my life, right? And when I look at, I'm gonna write that down. Whoa, caps lock. In what ways does this choice create structure? Okay. Now, this is deep, right? Because this really gets the ball rolling with past Noba. I think that we have the answers inside of us when it comes to things like force and flow and structure and how it serves us, right? And this question, I think, really frames structure in a palatable way for past Noba, who doesn't have current Noba's expertise in this realm, right? Past Noba doesn't have that, right? So past Noba needed this sort of guidance, right? But past Noba knew intuitively that it's like, this feels terrible. I feel terrible, right? And it's like, that's because I'm not asking myself, in what ways does this choice create structure, right? And it's like, it was more like, okay, my choices are creating chaos, right? They're not creating structure. And then to follow that with a follow-up question: in what ways does this choice create peace? I think that these two questions sort of encapsulate this beginning part here. So, for part one, we have, in what ways does this choice create structure? And in what ways does this choice create peace? So, I think that this message to Noba is going to be something, it is going to be like in this questioning form. I think it's going to be like, before making a decision, ask yourself, quote, in what ways, maybe like, you see, this is the fun part of the series, right? It's like getting it down into a sentence, right? This is almost like an English game, right? Before making a decision about, like, structure, would past Noba understand the word structure the way I'm thinking of it now? Maybe not, right? Before making a decision about I'm gonna use the word self-care. You know, that has a bit of a stigma, but I think it's the most direct thing that past Noba would palatably understand. Before making a decision about self-care, ask yourself, in what ways does this create structure and peace in my life? Okay, is this a legal English one sentence? Maybe it is, maybe it's not. I actually don't know. However, I'm really liking this. This is really good. Before making a decision about self-care, ask yourself, in what ways does this create structure and peace in my life? Right? Now, I think that this really does encapsulate what I'm seeking here. There's another aspect. Maybe we'll do a second video on the other aspect I was thinking to this whole thing. Maybe sneak peek. I wanted to talk about surroundings and how your environment and the structure of your environment plays a big part in your perception of the world and your choices. However, for the purpose of this message to past Noba, you know, I'm thinking about like the structure thing, right? With like sleep and my eating schedule, right? Like how I was like treating my body, You know, it was just like everything was a means to an end. It was chaotic, right? It was like, I have to do this in order to get it through. If I stopped let's say before I choose what to eat for dinner, or when to eat dinner, or when to go to sleep, or when to do my homework, etc., and I asked myself, in what ways is this choice creating structure and peace in my life? I think that if I just stopped and thought about that, I'd realize it like, okay, yeah, you know, it's creating chaos, and that's making the situation more challenging. Yeah, I think that, you know, I was uncertain about this one going in. However, I'm really happy with the sentence because it's very, very, very effective at getting past Noba to that point. This would be OP, honestly. This would be very powerful. If like this would be very powerful. The other thing about this series that always is interesting to me that I wonder is like, what if like, you know, like what is future Noba gonna be writing to this Noba now, right? And then on the flip side is, I'm writing this to past Noba, but there's still places in my life that I could ask myself, in what ways does this choice surrounding structure create, well, you get it, create peace in my life, right? Like it's still very valuable, right, for me, for sure. So yeah, I feel really good about this. Thanks, everybody. Have a good day. Bye.